Hello guys, so this video I just want to kind of compare a few fragrances that I think smell similar or are inspired by each other. I don't really think I'll use the word clone, but some people may call these clones because they're very similar, they're inspired by each other. So pretty much what we have here is Azzaro the Most Wanted. This is the EDP Intense. So there's some confusion there. I'm not sure if the Most Wanted is just called the Most Wanted or if it's actually called EDP Intense. But you see there's no Fragrantica page for the EDP Intense, yet the bottle is the same as just the original Most Wanted. So I'm going to assume that this is just the original Most Wanted. The black bottle, and it's also referred to as EDP Intense on their website. So the notes of this are just pretty much cardamom, toffee, and wood, I think. But there is a little bit of citrus there. You get like this toffee, cardamom, citrus. It's almost like a caramel sweetness to it with this freshness. I get like a lavender orange blossom type of smell in there too. So that's pretty much the original DNA for the Most Wanted. And I've tried quite a few of them, but we'll go on to the next one. Now we have Myslf, which is the new YSL fragrance. Well, I don't know how new it is, but it's called Myslf. Yeah, it's Myslf without an E, so it's spelled like that. This is, I didn't realize it at first, but it is actually very similar, especially in smell. However, this one is a little less gourmand and a little less weird. So I think the Most Wanted is quite a weird smelling fragrance. I think it's a little bit more subjective. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. This is like a more mass appealing, more safer, fresher version of that. So Myslf is actually, when I first smelled it, I thought it smelled like Luna Rosa Ocean by Prada. And the more I smell it, I don't think it smells like that anymore, even though it does have similarities in the opening. What you get here is citrus, orange blossom, and patchouli, I think they said in the notes or something like that. However, I don't think it's really that. I get that same toffee, cardamom, lavender, orange blossom, citrus kind of smell. So the main notes of this one is citrus, lavender, orange blossom with a little bit of this is what I smell. I smell tonka in the base. It gets a little bit woody in the base as well. Like this vetiver fresh woody smell comes through in the dry down. It is definitely a lavender smell. So even though lavender is not in the notes, a lot of people would pretty much agree this is a lavender fragrance. Gets compared to like YSL Le Parfum, Ralph's Club, even though it smells nothing like those. Similar kind of lavender note in there. You also have that citrus is really nice. It's got like this bubblegum smell in the opening, which I think comes from that toffee and cardamom combination, even though on Fragrantica they haven't given you many notes to go from. So this, just consider this like a more fresh, floral, mass appealing version of the Most Wanted. So the Most Wanted is more gourmand. This is more citrusy, fresh florals. Okay. And a lot of girls like myself. Okay, that sounds really bad. A lot of girls like that one more than the Most Wanted. So if you let two people try them, a lot of the girls would choose Myslf over the Most Wanted. So next we have Valentino Born in Roma Intense. So this is the Intense Born in Roma. You got to keep in mind that there's a million different Born in Roma fragrances. There's also girls ones as well. So there's the girls line and the men's line. This is the men's line, and only the intense. So none of the other Born in Roma smell like this one. This is only the intense one, and not to be confused with Uomo Intense, because Uomo Intense is in a similar bottle, but that one's a Dior Homme Intense clone. So this is not a Dior Homme. This is not a Dior Homme Intense clone. This is a Most Wanted clone. So don't get them confused, even though it's very confusing, because Valentino fragrances, all their bottles look the same. They're all kind of like part of the one or two lines, you know. So this one's a little bit more different. I'm gonna spray this one on because it's been a while since I actually have tried this one. So already I can smell a little bit of that a little bit of the Born in Roma DNA in there. So it's got like this violet smell. There is a violet leaf in there. Again, this is like, it's not as citrusy as the Mysf. It doesn't really lean like that lavender smell either. So a little less lavender, a little bit more towards the violet smell here. This is a little more fruity, has like a little bit of a powderiness to it, a little musky, powdery. But there's definitely still like some cardamom or citrus in there. There's like there's a gourmand smell in there too. So I do think this is like some gourmand or a fruit or something. So this may be a little bit fruitier, a little bit more gourmand than Mysf, but this is still fresher than the Most Wanted, while having a little bit of that Born in Roma DNA. So the original Born in Roma is like Invictus style fragrance, musky, powdery. It's got like that violet smell in there. It's a little bit fresh, sweet as well. So I'm gonna pull up Fragrantica just so I can refresh my brain at the notes in this. So on Fragrantica it says that this one is vanilla, lavender, and vetiver, which is interesting because this is like powdery, musky. It's got that violet lavender smell in there, except the lavender is actually not as like prominent as the Mysf. So I think Mysf is actually heavier on the lavender. This one, it still has that praline cardamom smell in there, even though it's not listed on the notes. Maybe that comes from different ingredients. Maybe that's like a bergamot lavender combination with the violet leaf or something like that. Maybe there is praline and cardamom in there, but it's not listed. So this one, just keep in mind, the main difference is a little bit more powdery, musky. This is, what's the right word? I want to say the notes in here are like clashing a little bit as well. When I first tried it, I think the notes were a little bit clashing with each other. Just like in this, the Most Wanted, I think the notes really clash and they don't really work that well together. I do think Mysf is a way better balanced version where the notes don't clash. This is still got that bubblegum sweetness in the opening as well. It's just, this one smells a lot more like a hybrid. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like a hybrid of the original Born in Roma mixed with Most Wanted, if that makes sense. So just keep that in mind. It's not a one-to-one clone. It's more of a hybrid. Now this next one is, it's called Obeyed by Navitus. There's no, like, you can't read it because the writing's like coming off the bottle. Like, look at this. The writing's like fully came off the tag anyway. So this was originally called Obeyed by Navitus, and now they changed the name to Lyrik. So now you can find this fragrance called Lyrik by Navitus, And I want to spray this one, but this one is probably the most different of them all. Some people would probably not even say it smells the same. I haven't actually reviewed this on my channel yet, but I probably should have reviewed it. Now this is a niche version of the most one. I call it a niche version because I think it actually has a lot of the same notes in there, except the quality is just a lot better. So this is where the quality makes a huge difference in the fragrance. This has that just better quality. The only downside is this is a lot more peppery. This has got like some pink pepper or something going on in there that makes it really peppery. Cardamom, toffee, cardamom, toffee. Another thing I will say is a lot of Navitus fragrances do have toffee and cardamom in there. I think Navitus is a brand that's kind of like done a lot of gourmand scents as well. So they really got the hang of gourmand fragrances now because they make so many of them. But this one I like because it fixes a lot of problems with the most wanted that I didn't really like. The notes kind of clash a little bit. It's just a weird smell. It's got this weird smell to it. Even though it's not a bad fragrance, I just think it's a little bit weird where you smell it and you're like, I can't really figure out what's in this. The Navitus one actually fixes that problem a lot, just like the Myslf does as well. I think Born in Roma also has that issue where you can't really tell the notes in there. So for that reason, I don't really like Born in Roma that much. But I gotta admit, this one, immediately I get like the caramel toffee praline smell, cardamom. I get like this pink pepper. I can smell like this beautiful vanilla or something really, even though it's a little bit scratchy and harsh from that pepper, it's got a smoothness to it as well. So there's like this smooth vanilla-y tonka smell in there coming through underneath. And it's quite a hard fragrance to describe the smell of. But it's like, it is a gourmand, but it's a very masculine one. So this is a masculine scent. Obviously, it's not a unisex fragrance at all. But you'll know if you smell it. It's like the contrast between this smooth underlying sweetness with this higher peppery scratchiness. It does balance itself out a little bit, even though it leans a little bit too peppery for my personal liking. I would wear it because I know this one would get lots of compliments. My sister's already said she likes this one, which is pretty rare because she hates sweet fragrances usually. So peppery, cardamom, praline, and that pink pepper, maybe a little bit of wood, something in it. I'll check the notes so I don't ramble on too much. Lyrik by Navitus. Yeah, so this has almond, citrus, pepper, jasmine, caraway, cinnamon, toffee, frankincense, musk. So that's the main difference I think that I noticed in here is the pepper. I think the jasmine in here actually, it doesn't come across as that floral, but compared to the other ones that have lavender in them, I think the jasmine here works a lot better than lavender actually. I think the jasmine actually gives this like an even fresher smell. Like, actually, not fresher. It's what's the right word? Like, you know when you add jasmine to citrus and then it creates like this sparkling effect? It just makes it a little bit more effervescent and less dark. But then it's confusing to explain because it's like, I want to say that it makes it more fresh, whereas lavender adds this darkness to a fragrance sometimes. It can be soapy, obviously, but lavender can go a little bit in that dark direction, like the most wanted. So lavender is kind of that base right in the middle where you can go soapy dark, or you can stay in the middle there. I think a lot of these fragrances stay right in the middle with the lavender. Like, it's not fresh and it's not too dark. But this one, I want to say that the other notes bring it down a lot. So, how would I explain this? I would say like the caramel or toffee, whatever it is, I'd say it sweetens the fragrance up, and it needs that contrasting floral in there just to balance it out. So all of these are very, very sweet fragrances, except for Mysf, which is still a sweet fragrance, but it's a lot more citrusy in the opening anyway. So with that said, I don't think I've done a very good job of explaining them, but this is the most different. Navitus Lyrik is the most different, just because it's got the pepper, it's got the jasmine, it's got the, what is it? It's got caraway, cinnamon, frankincense. It's got almond in there, so that kind of makes this a little bit more different. However, I think they're still my two favorites. So I got Mysf and Lyrik. I would say it's just better than the other two. So if I had to choose between one of them, I would obviously say Mysf, just because it's cheaper and I know it's more mass appealing. But if you don't want the boringness of this, some people would say Mysf is a little bit too boring and too safe, then go Navitus Lyrik, because this is it's definitely not safe, but it is a massive improvement over the Most Wanted DNA. So they're not clones, but they are all similar fragrances. You could compare them all to each other, and you could see similarities in literally all of them. So I wish I could explain them a little better, but unfortunately these fragrances, they're just very hard to explain, you know, because the smell is not that easy to pick out the individual ingredients, you know. Like, they all have pretty much one thing in common: lavender, toffee, cardamom, and maybe a citrus. They're all sweet, gourmand, floral type fragrances as well. So the difference in them is mainly just going to be in the quality and the freshness of them all. So I don't know if I've explained them that well. I'll just go over them again quickly. Born in Roma, that's a hybrid. Think of that as a hybrid. Most Wanted, think of that as more as a gourmand. Lyrik, think of it as a niche version of the Most Wanted with some pepper in there. Mysf, think of that as a more citrusy version of the Most Wanted, and more mass appealing and safe. So I think that's the best way to describe them. Just like very simple, bit easy for you to understand. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll try and put out some more videos soon. Peace out.